Cheche, everybody in Cyberland. It's your favorite Babalao, Odun, Odileke, coming at you with another great video. Before we jump in, give me the like, give me the subscribe, and let's get going. In this version of the video, I want to remind you all that the last video I made was on Oyolbe Meyi. And now we're doing Oyekun Meyi. Because we are going to finish off the first 16 kings from Oyolbe to Aregun Meyi. Alright? Or also known as Ofun Meyi. So without further ado, let's get in there. So when we talk about Oyekun Meyi, there's a couple of aspects that I need you to remember. One is the divinity called Iku, known as death. And under death, we talk about the relationships of Eguns. 2, fire. And when we talk about fire, we talk about the relationship between fire and Chango. So we're going to talk about fire, but I want to talk about how that relates to Chango and Orumila. Then I would like to talk about the night sky, and the owner of all things at night. And with that, I want to talk about how Oyekun Meyi became the owner of the night. But also, I want to talk about why, when it comes to the aspect of women, why the nighttime has to be truly conserved, and why men should have a more conservative approach in how they look at the night when it comes to relationships, marriages, and we're going to talk about that as well. So without further ado, I really want to just jump right in and let's talk. So the first aspect I want to talk about is Iku. This sign in Oyekun Meyi is when Iku was first introduced to Earth. Iku, death. Iku had an appetite for human flesh. Iku loves human flesh, right? He could eat animals all day, but he doesn't want animals. He wants humans. So that's the first thing. Obviously, in certain patakis, as you begin to drill down, you're going to understand that there's aspects of when did Iku lose the taste for humans? And the answer is never. He never did. But the answer is that with Ebo, they were able to trick Iku, right? So Orumila, they went to Orumila. Orumila does Ebo. They were able to trick Iku to understanding that humans have the ability to fight back and that he should beware. So Iku stepped back from eating and killing humans 24/7 because he was destroying them in a faster rate than known to man, even in today's age. But one thing that balanced the scales was that Iku was able to realize through consultation with Orula as well that death was going to come one way or another. Iku was going to taste the flesh of humans again. Maybe not by his hand, but maybe by the hands of sickness. Maybe by the hands of war. So when you start to peel back that onion, what we were able to do was prevent Iku from just coming down and striking humans immediately and him taking them all. Now, there's a little bit of a delayed process. And as you begin to unravel Ifa, you begin to see why the Ideo Orula is another pack with Iku. Why is it important to receive your mano de Orula? But that's for another sign for another day. So that's Iku's role in Oyekun Meyi. The taste of flesh. Beware of Iku. But with Iku comes Eguns, comes ancestors, it comes the dead, spirits. right? So it's very important with Oyekun Meyi that we begin to bond and solidify the aspect of Egun worship. It's important for everybody who looks at Oyekun Meyi to say, man, that has a lot to do with Eguns. And not only Eguns, but powerful Eguns, manipulative Eguns. When you look at Oyekun Meyi, which now brings me to my next part, we look at a strong connection to Egun as much as we have strong connections to the night. When all the divinities came down to earth, there was a handful of divinities that roamed the night, but none of them can truly claim the night. So they all had a competition, and it was Oyekun Meyi that won that competition. But more importantly, this you begin to see the relationship with many other things in this one pataki, because it was the sacrifice of a goat and the skin of a goat, okay, that was able to solidify his title as the king of the night. Oyekun Meyi made a drum out of the skin of a goat. And as you begin to go deeper into this faith, you will start to see that there's other divinities like Anya, right, that begin to solidify those relationships with these Oduns based on some of these sacred stories, like this one, the drum made from a goat skin. Boy. Now, when we talk about that relationship, now I want to talk about the people who actually have the sign of Oyekun Meyi, right? Be careful. Avert death. Hey, be careful. Connect yourself closer to the Eguns. Hey, be careful with the night, right? Because at night, a lot of different things happen. Right now, I want to go back into some of the generalities of Oyekun Meyi. All right, so we talked about Iku, we talked about the night. Now let's talk about the rain. A lot of people don't understand the Oyekun Meyi, right? The rain is actually money, it's prosperity, it's luck for Oyekun Meyi. Because what happened was, there's another pataki that talks about when the divinities came down to see what is this place called Earth, that Ishu was able to cut the cord of all the things in the sky. And in that same story, it gives us an understanding of what the raindrop truly is. And the rain, the spirit of the rain that did a bo. And when that raindrop is hitting you, it's actually a divinity, a spirit hitting you with a club. Pataki is deep. Very, very, very deep. So that aspect comes down because the spirit itself wanted to defend itself. It wanted to defend itself against the sun, the drought. All right, it wanted to make sure that it had its place in life. And the rain to this day did the abo and has its place in life. Now, let's go back. Those 200 divinities come down. Ishu says, hey, that guy did a bull. I'm going to allow that guy to do his thing. But Ishu always has an ulterior motive. This rain is pounding on these divinities. Pounding on them. And here comes Orula. Right? Because what do you think the divinities didn't do? They didn't do a bull before they came past and came to earth. And Ishu wasn't having that. Ishu said, nah, too easy. I got this. And that's why he started pounding them with the rain. Orumila did it both. Orumila saw this sign. Orumila knew how to act. Orumila had two divinities with him. An aspect of Olokun and an aspect of money that traveled with him and went on this long journey back to his land in order to find his followers and in order to continue to be prosperous and lucky. Right? So he won the lotto because he did things right. He did the ebos and he did his thing. And this is why Oyekun Meyi's kids should never wear a hat. Get wet in the rain. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Okay, now let's take that one step further. All right? When we talk about Oyekun Meyi, I also want to kind of talk about some of the aspects of where humans first ate fish. And how did that become possible? How were we able to, at one certain point in time, have this species that to this day still fills the oceans and can feed mankind? Oyekun Meyi, the first time humans eat fish. And it goes back again. The fish did a bowl because it wanted kids. The fish made a bowl. And to this day, the fish is having hundreds of kids in one shot. Iburuboya to the fish. That's another sacred pataki that you find in Oyekun Meyi. Right? And as we begin to dig deeper, we now start to see the ebo that was done for fire. Because fire at one point in time was sick. And you notice I talk about all these elements, right? But fire at one point in time was sick because they were all alive. All these elements were alive. And it almost diminished to be no more ever again. Orumila, through consultation, through a bow, was able to create a mixture that was going to resurrect the fire and bring it back to its full force. But he needed to invoke the power of Chango. And here's where we see the relationship between Chango, between fire, between Orula. Because it was Chango who shot the lightning bolt up and came flying down into the ebo in order to ignite it, in order to rejuvenate the fire itself. Oyekun Meyi is beautiful. Right? You start to see all these beautiful patakis and how our ancestors laid it out for us. Oyekun Meyi is very beautiful. But our ancestors brings me to my next point. Oyekun Meyi talks a lot about respecting our elders. Because it was our elders that were able to show us the way. And it's our elders that maintain a lot of not just secrets, not just experience, right? But they literally have knowledge that maybe they haven't even realized they let go. There's no way for a young follower to follow an elder and learn everything from that elder. You could probably get pretty close, but you're not going to learn everything. Because some things just come with time. Some things do come with wisdom. Some things come with knowledge. A lot of things come with the understanding. And that's important for everyone to remember. That's why there's an old saying, the ears cannot pass the head. The ears are on the side for a reason, for you to listen. And it's eventually the capacity of your head that allows you to either maneuver, right, or speak. But everything is in front of the ears. So you have to listen. You have to listen and respect the elders. And there's a nice pataki on that one too, on why we should respect our elders. But as we continue to dig in, as we begin to dig in, there's a couple of other things. And I think let me solidify this pataki about respecting the elders, because I think it's important for us to remember. I'm going to jump in this one pataki. The pataki goes where there are men, all right, and old men that have this, we'll call it a company, right? We're talking about thousands of years ago. And what they're doing is they're building spiritual temples, spiritual sects, and they're working, and there's their apprentices, the young men that are right next to them. At a certain point, the young men feel that they're confident that they're going to break off of these old men and they want to make more money for themselves. So they're going to go, they're going to charge cheaper, and they're going to take care of business. Well, they do that. But the problem is now some of these iles that they're building and some of these sects, they're falling apart, and there's protests. Man, the villagers, everybody is just upset. And Awalofin hears this. Says, whoa, what's going on with the spiritual community? What's going on? What's all this confrontation? So then all of a sudden, Olofi asks both of them to build, hey, show me what you guys are building. One builds, and then they notice, okay, the younger ones keep falling apart. And at that very moment, they told the older men to go over there and look at the design. What happened? And they tell them, hey, they did this wrong, whatever. Awalofi at that very moment said, hey, this is the life lesson. You have to listen to the elders. You have to follow the elders. You have to walk that walk. And it's important to always remember that. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's the mere concept of you cannot replace experience. You cannot replace age. You cannot replace, it's basically time. And that's the time that's needed even for the younger generation. And that will humble you and that will get you where you need to be. I promise you that. Promise. So I said a lot about Oyekun Meyi. We talked about the fire. We talked about Iku. We talked about the Eguns. We talked about the rain. We talked about the fish. We talked about the night. All right? There's a lot of things about Oyekun Meyi that we need to remember. And what Oyekun Meyi offers the world, offers us. So I hope with that said, you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to jump back on. I know I've been a little AWOL lately, but hey, I'm back in rhythm. And I bless you all and your families and your friends, and thank you for tuning in. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche Cyberland.